Our next basically forum touch on school best practice. We have Mr. Charles Dormer, the principal of Nilai International School, Madam Lau Pin Sian, the head of National Schools, Tenby Schools, Ipoh, Mr. Martin Knight, the deputy headmaster of King Henry VIII College, Malaysia, and Madam Pamela Esther David Desson, the principal of Stella Maris International School of Kuala Lumpur. Okay, so it gives me a great pleasure to invite them to this forum to share their knowledge on the topic on school best practice. See you, everyone.
As you will see with some pride, I hope, of the international schools that have won awards for best practice over the past year or so of pandemic education, many of them are here in Malaysia or not very far from home. The pandemic has refined the way that we think about education, making us focus on the most important things. And it's also refined the way we communicate that. So if you're a Cambridge school, for example, you will find very clear focus now on the learner profile and what kind of minds we want our learners to have and how we should be training those minds. And here you see that expressed in linear form, but also in the circular mandala form, you might call it. It is notable how many international educational organizations express their holistic aims for the development of children through these circular mandala diagrams to convey both the separateness and the interconnectedness of the different elements of an education in pursuit of values and human qualities and characteristics that are our aim in schools. Sometimes the mandala is very, very detailed and complicated, like this one, and sometimes the wheel of holistic education is much simpler and more driven as an iterative process, like this one. The KTJ mandala that you can see here is used to convey their understanding of what they are trying to achieve educationally, and teachers use it to explain to children why they have to do something hard when something easy seems obvious, and why they have to try to stretch and challenge themselves to connect beyond the simple and straightforward to what goes beyond. And so you start from the center of the flower, and the first row of petals from the center are the primary learning characteristics, and then the next row out are the secondary learning characteristics, and then they connect with the outside world and with the kind of human being that we want children to be on the level of integrity and empathy. So what about us here at NIS? Well, the online learning platform is broadly a level playing field, but of course primary and secondary education are not the same thing, and they require very different playing fields and environments in which to learn. Young people are very often overstimulated in front of a computer, while secondary children are very often understimulated and bored. And that puts a burden on teachers to inject much more variety and excitement and awe and wonder and constant variety of activity into their lessons online if they want to keep the children's attention. So here are the first 7 things that, if you ask my teachers, they will tell you that they have learned to do, taught themselves to do, taught each other to do, either from the beginning or much better than before, since the pandemic began. Here are the first 7, and here are another 8, and here are another 9. And these are just the 24 things that I listed quickly that my teachers, when surveyed, said that they had had to develop their skills and practice in over the past 15 months or so, purely in order to try to be better teachers and communicate with their children more effectively during the pandemic. But even if you're doing all of this, that does not mean that you're going to necessarily get through to every child all of the time. For example, here are the things that my teachers most commonly said were problematic for them still after 15 months of refining their practice in online learning. And as you can see, these are very common complaints that people all over the world have been experiencing and voicing. And here are the rest of their concerns. And it is just so much easier to work a room with your charisma and magnetism and human qualities than it is to work a Zoom and to reach out and to connect with people in the same way. So how can you do that? Because it's an essential part of education to do that. And to answer that question, I'm going to hand over to Miss Vicky, our amazing head of primary, who gets the last word in this webinar, because she has become, over the past 2 years, because of the pandemic, the most remarkable maker of pictures and videos, montages and collages, which try to bring children and staff and parents together in a genuinely vibrant community experience despite that physical cut-off between us. So let's let her video do the talking. Over to you, Vicky.
Thank you, Charles. My name is Vicky and I am the primary head teacher at Nilai International School. I'd like to share the amazing journey of how we embrace the challenges brought by COVID and use it as an opportunity to flourish, adapt and develop our skills. Similar to schools all around the world, we had to act quickly, learn fast and be prepared for lots of trial and error so the learning could not only continue but thrive too. During the initial stages, we used weekly reflections from the staff, students and parents, and these evaluations enabled us to set realistic online timetables, create a bespoke online curriculum, set our expectations and quickly solve any teething troubles we encountered. Our staff have been very creative with their delivery of online lessons by researching best practice, trialling new teaching methods to engage the students, and then training each other so we all evolve and improve together as a team. We use Google Meet, Jamboard, ClassCake as platforms to engage our students and celebrate and share the work produced with the families on Class Dojo.
I want to show you how online lessons do not deter effective learning. In fact, With the help of educational tools and websites that support home-based learning, us teachers can deliver a lesson just as good as we do in school. Look at the students' work and you can see that they are learning, participating, and using variety of skills to achieve the learning objective.
During online lessons at NIS, we believe the students should also study creative subjects while online. These subjects allow my students to be very creative. I am very proud of my Year 3 class who have produced some fantastic pieces of artwork that inspired by famous artists.
Many online learning tools are offered for free, which have been very helpful in supporting my lessons. Just like in school, we also do group discussions, quizzes, and tests. I can monitor students' work and support them immediately as needed. These online tools have taken the stress away from my students, and they enjoy learning online as much as learning in school.
We hold regular primary assemblies where the students proudly present and discuss their learning. We also celebrate many special events and ensure that students' learning is always exciting. We created a production of The Lion King for all the students from EYFS to Year 10. To stimulate creative writing, students and staff dressed up for Halloween and they created some wonderful stories. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed our presentation. Do you have any questions?
Hi, I'm Lau Ping Sian from Sekolah Tenby, Ipoh. After working 6 years as a research scientist, I came back from Singapore and signed up for a diploma in education. And I spent 14 years being a mathematics and MS teacher for SPM and STPM. I moved to Tenby, Ipoh, signed up for CIDTT, taught IGCSE and A-level maths for another 11 years before heading Sekolah Tenby. I'm a Cambridge maths trainer. I under Cambridge International Assessment Board, and I had 9 years of experience in the international school senior leadership. A great education is a culture in which learners are willing to go through all the struggle in their learning and constantly looking for opportunity to get better. On top of that, they are not afraid of making mistakes and continuously looking for opportunities to learn and grow from their mistakes. Teachers need to empower themselves to pick up all the weaknesses in the learning journey, develop effective questioning skills, and work on scaffolding activities to ensure students go through good struggles in the new learning. 1. Lesson teaching weaknesses kill students' motivation and enthusiasm in learning. I noticed some common weaknesses during the start of the lesson and during the learning activities. In the first 5 minutes of every lesson, learners need to perceive the directions and intention of the learning. Teachers need to clearly express what they will learn, what they need to do to learn, and what they can achieve at the end of the lesson. However, it is sad to notice that students' enthusiasm disappeared when the teachers require students to answer questions they have no clue about without giving any information at the beginning of the lesson, or teacher confuses students by asking questions that are not well planned or keep repeating the same few confusing statements. Student brains will not be working well if the teachers occupy all the lessons with repetitive instructions. The weaknesses in learning that will deter students from engaging with their learning are as follows. Number 1, the learning activities are not planned with increased challenges gradually with a smooth transition between all the learning activities. It will be either not challenging enough or too challenging. Number 2, no scaffolding activities were provided. When students are given the support they need while learning something new, they stand a better chance of using the knowledge independently. Students require sufficient scaffolding activities to construct their learning progressively in a coherent way. Students are kept busy, but not busy with learning. Plenty of time-killing activities like copying, mechanical repetitions of reading, and memorizing are the silent killers of students' enthusiasm for learning. Besides being able to pick up the above weaknesses, teachers need to empower themselves to work on their deductive reasoning skills. The ability to ask and answer the questions is central to learning. We need to carefully plan our questions by thinking through possible questions that would guide the students toward further investigation and a deeper understanding of the stress concepts. Teachers are not supposed to ask questions to ascertain whether or not they were learning the book content or to see if they are paying attention in class. There is more to good questioning than simply asking proper questions. Teachers need to focus on questions to promote learning and not on questions regarding specific information. Asking probing questions is to enable the shift from learning content to learning processes. This shift is to enable individuals to deal intelligently with the world around them and their life. If students can analyze their life and the life of others while in the school setting, they will be able to comprehend their reality effectively when they are outside the formal school situation. A rational being does not merely possess an effective memory. He or she must be able to react to data, able to think, and be active in seeking and understanding of problems. With the recorded mental rehearsal, teachers are empowered to listen to their recording to find out the following aspects of their questioning skills. Are all questions distributed to all, including non-volunteer? Is thinking time included? Are questions being phrased clearly, proactive, and within the vocabulary limits of students? Are simple and exacting questions are asked so that the slower students may participate and the fast learner may be extended? Are lengthy responses encouraged? Avoid asking questions like yes-no questions, fragmentary questions, and those questions that encourage guessing. Is providing plenty of CPD or in-house training on classroom management helpful or confusing to teachers? With the convenience of information technologies, teachers are all loaded with too many resources and strategies. Anyone can share the teaching methodologies and classroom management strategies on various websites, causing plenty of copy and pasted activities transferred into classroom learning. For example, online maths resources being thrown at students without working out the learner's existing knowledge or the learning gaps. And sometimes the maths puzzle used are not related to the learning outcomes. Kahoot and quizzes are another examples of misdirected teaching or learning, where the questions designed are inappropriate to consolidate their learning. Providing teachers with plenty of resources of training is only beneficial if they can empower themselves first to pick up all the possible weaknesses created before the lessons. For teachers to empower themselves in their learning, teachers need to go through a written mental rehearsal of the learning process to identify the struggle of an entire learning process. In the first part of the learning journey, within the first 5 minutes, students are supposed to get a clear mind of direction on what they're supposed to do to learn. In the second part of the learning journey, related scaffolding activity that can support students to go through the learning progressively have to be planned. Special attention needs to be given to the transition between all the learning activities that will ensure students are well supported and willing to move on when the level of difficulty is getting more challenging. Teacher will be able to address different learning paces when they pay attention to the transitions of the learning activity. With the scaffolding support, students are fully accountable in their learning journey. Without that, all the struggles in the learning journey will turn into bad struggles for students, which will make students feel like they're drowning and more likely to give up. How can teachers be empowered? Head of departments and middle leaders can empower teachers to learn by having more pre-learning visits instead of learning walks and post-learning conversations. The pre-learning visit can be conducted using the recorded mentor rehearsal. Teachers are more receptive to the support provided before the lessons and will be more willing to empower themselves to address their weaknesses and to develop effective questioning skills that will help to engage students' learning. A recorded mentor rehearsal is an effective tool to empower teachers to identify weaknesses and refine the instructions or activities. With the recorded mentor rehearsals done using the Microsoft PowerPoint slide, teachers can replay to listen to their recordings to pick up any weaknesses that will create learning issues. The teachers can change the order of the slide easily and only update the recording of a particular slide without repeating the whole recording. Every instruction is given ahead of time and checked to ensure students have a clear mind of their expectations during the learning process in their recorded mentor rehearsal. The final update of their recorded mentor rehearsal is always good enough to be replayed during the lesson after a few refinements. A refined recording can be reproduced and reused for future lessons with some minor updates. This is a checklist for teachers to empower themselves in planning an engaging lesson through written and recorded mentor rehearsals. By empowering themselves to reflect on their recorded mentor rehearsals, teachers will push themselves to a higher platform of professional progress as they know how to be fully accountable for learning to take place. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Martin Knights and I am the Deputy Headmaster at King Henry VIII College in Cyberjaya, Malaysia. As a teacher from the UK, it is a huge honour for me to speak at such a prestigious conference. I am very grateful for the opportunity to address the conference and I hope you enjoy the next few minutes with me. As part of my role as Deputy Headmaster, I oversee the school's boarding operation, and it is on that subject, the future of boarding, that I wish to talk to you about today. King Henry VIII College opened 3 years ago. We're only 3 years old, and I have been here for all of those 3 years. I've been here from the start. It seems that boarding schools have been around forever. Indeed, they have a history that runs back over hundreds of years. However, the need to market boarding and what boarding does is greater than ever. Parents still hold old stigma associated with boarding and boarding schools, and when I meet parents who are considering boarding as an option for their children, there are many obstacles that I need to cross to prove to them that boarding is not like it was in the old days, and that boarding is now a product designed to really meet the needs of today's go-getting young students. However, as a young boy myself, I can remember my mum saying to me that if I didn't behave myself and complete my studies, she would send me off and pack me off to boarding school. And images that I'm sharing with you now on screen jumped into my mind, filled me with horror, and had the desired effect. I all of a sudden became a model student again. However, my mum was using that as a threat, boarding school as a threat, and it's something that boarding has always fought to get beyond. Prior to coming to work in Malaysia, I worked in a boarding school in the UK, in the beautiful city of Bath. So I truly believe in boarding and the boarding product. And I see on a daily basis the numerous benefits afforded to students who board. Their increased independence, their self-reliance, their social well-being and development. They enjoy and benefit from interactions with a whole range of people on an hourly basis. They're never alone. They enjoy an increased resilience, an ability to make good decisions for themselves. And they are encouraged to think for themselves, and they know how to look after themselves. I could go on, as you can see. It's a subject that's near and dear to my heart. Education is about successfully preparing students for the next stage, and I see boarding as a major contributor to this process, ensuring that these young adults are ready for the trials of life, that they have the qualities that I've alluded to in a couple of minutes ago. They're ready not to live at home, they're ready to travel and embark on their next stage, which could be university and beyond. There has always been a need for schools to attract students. The education and school marketplace is tough, and it's as competitive as ever. And for boarding, it's even tougher. It's an extra fee on top of already the educational fee that parents are paying. Schools have needed to become very business-minded, and teachers cannot progress to senior positions without some business skill and awareness. In fact, I would go as far to say it's essential for career progression. There is a need for constant marketing. Social media dictates this to communicate your message and establish your presence within your area of operation. In short, marketing has to deliver. Schools are all in search of their own uniqueness to find that competitive edge that sets you apart, create brand awareness, presence within the marketplace. What separates one boarding operation from another? It's a very competitive market, and the differences are minute. Families, and rightly so, will shop around and closely inspect the different options available to them. They will compare facility, resources, rooms, furnishings, and they all fall under a microscope of inspection. People are in search of the very best fit, but also at the very best price. And in some cases, they are in need of a bespoke product unique to them and their family situation. Families need and want to feel a bond with their boarding school, to feel a high level of trust that the school will care for their son and daughter while ensuring the very highest levels of achievement. When I have people visit school here, I always make sure that they meet the chef in the canteen. They get to taste the food and experience that they meet the nurse and see the medical centre, hoping to achieve a high level of assurance that we can provide and care for their children. Schools can survive and thrive or suffer dependent on the financial success of the boarding operation. It is that important. So where are we now? We are in uncertain times, of that there is no doubt, and the world's families are reacting to this. The COVID situation has dictated that the vast majority of overseas students have returned to their homes, and that is right during this time of uncertainty. For them, long-term prospect of online learning is becoming unsustainable, and now they are looking for schools at home during this time. Boarding relies on these markets, so therefore the pressure is on once again, and we hope that the future brings a change in the situation and again opens up the opportunity for overseas students to return. Prior to coming to work in Malaysia, I attended a conference by the British Boarding School Association where Robin Fletcher set the following challenge. He asked us to consider boarding and look at boarding and the development of boarding and the future of boarding as if Apple were in charge, Audi, the car manufacturer, Amazon and Audi. Audi, for those of you that don't know, is a supermarket chain in the UK. Apple took the world by storm. Their innovation, creativity, out-of-the-box thinking, their approach to design, and they changed marketing forever, moving it to a completely new place. Their design not only met the needs of the consumer, but even created needs that the consumer didn't know that they had. Audi, if you have an Audi car, you are assured of quality. You can feel the quality. You only have to open and close a car door of an Audi to feel that quality. There is complete confidence in the performance. There is the same consumer confidence in the reliability. Audis are built to last. They are built to withstand whatever life and the weather, etc. can throw at them, but they are built with care and attention to detail. They are built to please. Imagine for a second if Apple were building and running a boarding house. If they were doing that in collaboration with Audi, what that product would look like, what the experience would be, and what it would feel like. Now let's add Amazon to the mix. Amazon, another hugely successful, global and innovative company. They strive to provide everything the consumer could ever need. They have the most complete range of products and can supply and do supply almost anything to anywhere. And usually they can do so within 24 hours. And in some cases, if you place your order early enough, they can do so within the same day. They place great emphasis on their customer care, customer satisfaction, and they have a return policy ensuring that that satisfaction is maintained and brand loyalty is also maintained if things don't go to plan. Audi weren't around in the UK a few years ago. If you went shopping, grocery shopping in the UK, there was a limited choice. All of a sudden, Audi were the newcomers to the market, and they not only came to the market providing what everybody gave, the same quality, the same range of product, they did so at a much lower cost, and this really changed the face of the market. So here lies the 4A challenge, approaching boarding with the innovation and creativity of Apple, approaching it with the feel of quality of Audi, approaching it with the customer service and speed of service of Amazon, but at the cost of Audi. It is a big challenge. So what do they all have in common? For me, it's the customer, the consumer. That is the element that links them all together and is foremost within their planning. They will move mountains to satisfy the customer and give them what they want, including bespoke service. They want and they need, like boarding, brand loyalty. I believe that the future is bright for boarding schools, and boarding schools will continue to offer an academic and social advantage to the students and families that choose to board. However, boarding schools will need to seriously consider how and where they market their unique products. The world has without question shifted, and a new consumer approach is needed. There lies the 4A challenge for the future of boarding. It's been my great pleasure to present to you today, and I hope that the 4A challenge is one that stimulates some progressive and proactive action. I thank you for the opportunity.
Hello everyone, I'm Pamela from Stella Marie International School, Medan Damansara, and I am here to deal with some questions. We don't have much time, so we will just address one or two questions. And my question is a very general question, and each speaker has about 30 seconds. Yeah, I'm so sorry, right, to address the question. So my question is simply this. It's a personal question to all three of you. Before that, let me thank. I read a lot of positive comments on the live chat on Facebook. So thank you for your honest sharing and for your generous sharing. Question is, as heads of your respective organizations, how do you ensure that your schools are performing well during this pandemic, right? We as heads, we have a huge role to play, not only to our teachers, but to our stakeholders as well. So can I let the question be addressed by Charles Dormer first, please? You are our first speaker.
Oh,
yeah.
Hello, everyone. Oh. Yes, hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Charles. 30 seconds, Charles, please.
30 seconds.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, I think we saw very clearly in the presentation from Tenby how teachers are being guided before lessons and monitored through them and debriefed afterwards. And that was such an excellent and clear and concise presentation of the process of leadership in preparing teachers to teach, holding their hands through the teaching, and then asking them to reflect on that and improve for the next time. That I was slightly surprised you asked me, because my colleague has already done that so well. I could really add nothing to it.
So can I assume you're also going to do that as well?
Well, yes, as you may have seen in my presentation, my teachers are constantly in dialogue with each other. Have you tried this software? Have you tried this? Again, it was referred to, there is so much input. There's so much freely available material now. The challenge is actually to decide what we're going to filter down to and how we're going to create a consistent, reliable product with all of the input flying around at the moment.
All right, Charles, thank you. What about you, Martin, when it comes to King Henry VIII?
Hi, good morning, thank you. You can hear me okay?
Yes, Martin, thank you.
I think at the moment, the pressure is on. It's a really important time for schools, and all schools are fighting in competition to fill the capacity of the school. I think it's really important that this time that we review what we do through as many sets of eyes as possible, taking into account all the different stakeholder views. The situation that we find ourselves in now with delivering most of our lessons online, we're hoping for better news for September, of course, means that we have to deliver the very best product possible that inspires, excites, and my colleagues here have given fantastic presentations on that. However, it's slightly different because the need now to connect beyond the classroom with students and families, making sure that their resilience is in check, their well-being is in check. The job all of a sudden when we moved online became much greater. Learning is about, for me, has always been about being in the classroom, those personal interactions, where you can watch a child grow and thrive. And sadly, at the moment, we're all really missing that. So we need some good news. We need borders open so that our international students can return. And we all live in hope of that for September.
Fine, Martin. Lau Pin Sian, thank you. You gave us very in-depth sharing of how you monitor your teachers. Can you just take 30 seconds to share with us the problems you face as you embark on this in your own school?
But in the first place, thank Charles and Martin. Thank you, Charles, for all the nice words. Yeah, I think like what Charles stated, right? I have to start empower the teacher first when I take the headship, because make the teachers feel empowered to go with all the struggle, go ahead with all the journey or strategy. But of course, they have to be held side by side, so that in the strong team, they are always feeling they are together in the great team. They will never be alone. I think that's the best thing. Yeah.
Right. So I think all four of us agree that we are all hand-holding our teachers in our respective organizations, yeah? More so now than ever. And virtually hand-holding them is not as easy as face-to-face. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Martin Knight, Charles Dormer, and Lau Pin Sian. It's great. It's been a learning experience for me as well. Yeah. Thank you. And over to you, David, right?
Right. Thank you, Madam Davison. Thank you again, Mr. Dormer, Madam Lau, and Mr. Knight for the wonderful engagement in this forum.